First, can we address the fact that the creator of this is named Mark? And this is like a Mark Zuckerberg reference, even though he looks nothing like Mark Zuckerberg. The other partner looks more like Mark Zuckerberg, but they call the creator Mark. Just let it sit in. But Ron's got wrong. Honestly, this is basically a movie that shows like, oh, you know, people are so entrenched in their devices. Basically, it's a cell phone reference, I would say, computers, internet references, where everyone's so mesmerized, just like glued to your phones, like you are right now, or the computer. I'm doing it now. Stop it. But no, everyone has one of these Bebot things. That, you know, is basically the social life now. You make friends on it. It's basically like an Instagram account that walks around. Barney's the only one who doesn't have one. So, you know, of course, as being an outcast, you know, he's the outcast because he doesn't have one, stupidly. Even for people who could be his friends, but because he doesn't have a Bebot, they don't want to. The Bebot really, like, basically just tells you, like, who you're compatible with, you know, who's your friend, who you should be friends with, so you didn't waste your time, which is something how like social media kind of does, where it's like, oh, if you look at someone's social media and you don't like what they see, maybe they do like I don't know, like alternative music. You don't like alternative music, you're just a pop person, you're like, maybe I won't like hang out with them. But that's just one aspect of them, and you don't know all the other things. So this does a good reference on this. He does, so eventually he does get a Bebot, and his name is Ron, but it was one that his dad like found off the street that was like broken and damaged. So it doesn't act like the normal ones. It doesn't act like the normal Bebots. So he has to kind of navigate through that. And that's basically the movie, you know. It's kind of funny because this movie has a lot of like hidden adult messages, like showing how like the big tech. We're on big tech right now. But no. For the purposes of the movie, big tech may or may not spy on you. Spy is a strong word. What I meant to say is use its terms of service to manipulate in order to data mine information, which definitely happens. How do you get all those customizations when you go, like, I searched for like, I don't know, swim trunks once, and then Google was like, oh, here's some swimwear. I'm like, I only searched for this like once. How is like every ad swimwear now? I'm like, bruh, DuckDuckGo it is. But no, it does do themes which I don't think are as comprehensible for kids in the way that they put it. Because if this is a kids movie, the messages should be more like on point. And they do change their tune. They do make it literally like, so, are you saying you want to do this? So that they need to do that, because if it's too obscure, then it goes over children's head. I'm not gonna lie. This is an adults movie. This is supposed to be for kids. So honestly, I like how it builds, but I feel like besides the two main characters and maybe grandma, I don't really feel like the other characters get built too much. Like, they try to build them a little bit just to be like, oh yeah, we built this character. And then they're just like, boot, yeet. You just boot it out and they just forget about it. And then they bring it back in an obscure moment later in the movie. Which is fine if you want to do like this two-person movie, but like, you try to do a two-person movie with other people. With more than two people. So, overall, I like the parallels. I do like how the story progresses and how it wraps up. I do think it was pretty well. It just, like, the story is like pretty linear. Like, I can't even say the story without spoiling it because there's nothing to the story. Like, this happens, so the next thing happens, and then the next thing happens. There isn't like this plot, honestly. It just basically revolves around the Bebot and the malfunctioning one. And the story behind that, and if you watch, you'll understand why. There isn't like, oh, save the crown, whatever, princess, damsel in distress. No, it's just like the Bebot and how it is having it, which works. It's not a bad movie. I recommend people to watch it. It's great, but it could have been better if they had some sort of plot path, maybe some twists, some turns, Because I don't really think this movie had any twists. It was just a straight line. Everything that you thought would happen happened. Predictable, 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 predictable. And that's how I would make it better. I'd make it less predictable, honestly. So 7 is what I give it, really. Like, this is another one of those movies that is rated like highly, like 88s, 89s. I'm like, how? What are we doing? Like, I understand like it has like good messages, but like just because a movie has a good message doesn't mean you give it 100%. Like, then every trash ass movie which just has a good message would be like higher than a 50%. Like, no, it's a 7. It's still good. I still recommend watching it. Maybe a strong 7. Let's give it a strong 7. You know, a strong 7 might be more fitting because 7 just feels a little bit too low. But either way, if you want more movie reviews, cultural stuff, and centrist TM politics, you know, come subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.